Hello everybody, Yussef here, and before we start today's episode, Vania and I would like to issue a trigger warning. In this episode, we do discuss darker and more disturbing subject matter. This does include suicide, depression, gun violence, and sexual abuse. If you are triggered by any of these things, we do recommend that you click away or you stop listening at the 45 to 50 minute mark in order to avoid any of these triggers. Again, we want to thank you so much for listening, and we do hope that you enjoy the podcast episode.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
I want to play a game.
Hello and welcome to the Sounds from the Grave podcast. My name is Yussef.
My name is Vania.
And we're going to dig through the ditches and burn through the witches and slam in the back of our Dragulas.
So if you guys have not, well, this could be meaning to anything. We could be talking anything about the Rob Zombie scare zone, or we could be talking about music. So I'll take you guys, have you guys wondering, well, he's probably going to put in the title anyway, JK. But other than that, yeah, we are going to be talking about music and horror. You guys are probably just going to get another rundown of my Ghost review again. That kind of thing. It's going to be super shorter, much shorter than the 12-minute version. But we're going to be talking about musicians that just also inspire the horror genre, and they also are inspired by horror as well. So, yeah. So.
Yeah. And not only that, we'll get to learn about some of each other's favorite artists, because I know that there are some that you like that I don't know about. There's some that I like that you don't know about. And by the time this episode drops, there will be a Spotify playlist up that you guys can follow, so you can also listen to the stuff that we listen to and question my music taste.
For me as well, I'm very curious about. I know a lot of you know about Ghost, but the other one. Anyway.
So
before that, we're gonna actually go through the horror headlines. But what did you want to say, Yusuf? Sorry, I have a very bad tendency of cutting him off, just like that. See,
I was gonna mention the exact same thing. That before we start, we have some horror headlines to go over, because there's been a lot going on this week, horror wise, a lot.
Yeah, as long as of course, that there is a lot of that we are getting much closer to Halloween season. So I'm pretty sure this is all just more of a push forward to spooky season, because who needs summer? It's not a hot girl summer. It is a hot goth girl summer. Yeah.
I was gonna say goth girl summer.
Yeah, it's goth girl summer. Hot goth girl summer.
Yeah, so we have a couple headlines to go through on here. Actually, there's a lot of headlines, but we're going to try and be a little bit brief, because we don't want to spend too much time on that. Otherwise, we won't have enough time to get through the actual topic about this podcast episode. But the first one that we have here, Konami, the video game company, just announced this last Sunday that their eShop is going to be bringing out Silent Hill themed merchandise.
Ooh.
Yes.
We need more of those all the time. We always need more of those.
Yes. So they're gonna feature shirts, pillows, like bedding, towels, like that kind of stuff. And then the weirdest one on there, a skateboard with like a Silent Hill deck.
That's not too weird. I feel like that's awesome though, because I feel like a lot of people from like early, like 1990s to 2000s will probably like that, because we still kind of skateboarded in our little punk years kind of thing. So I feel like it's relevant, especially.
I just mean like they sell like a bunch of just like run of the mill stuff, and like the one thing that they sell that isn't like a shirt or like a hat or anything, just a skateboard.
Yeah.
Like just that specifically, I think is funny. But yeah, that stuff, by the time this episode dropped, that stuff is already on the shop, or no, pre-orders actually started on the 23rd, so you can start pre-ordering that stuff now if you were interested. I'm probably going to get some sort of Pyramid Head related merchandise at some point or another.
I still want the nurses, but they don't get shown enough love.
Who knows? They might have some shirts. They might have some beanies with them or something.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
But what else? What else we've got, Vanya?
So, American Horror Stories, or American Horror Story, or American Horror Stories now, it heads back to Murder House where it all began. Basically, the American Horror Story universe is expanding not only the 10th season of the main series, but a brand new spin off called American Horror Stories, both coming this summer. And of course, the Ryan Murphy created spin off series will feature 1 hour contained episodes, while the 10th season of Flagship is entitled The American Horror Story Double Feature. So I'm super excited about this because I am a really big American Horror Story fan. I've seen almost all of the seasons, and it's kind of hard because with each season, it just messes with my ranking more and more. Which season is better? So yeah, how are you feeling about it, Yusef?
I just think it's really funny how as soon as I started rewatching American Horror Story for the first time again, all these news started to pour out. I'm like, the universe knew that I was about to start watching this.
Yeah.
And of course, the first thing they do is, because I just finished the first season, the first thing they do is show you, hey, remember Murder House? I was like, I do, I just saw this.
Yeah, I mean, Murder House was good, especially a good start to American Horror
I really
Story.
do, yeah, I really do like Murder House. It's like, I think it's actually like the third time I've seen Murder House all the way through, and I really like
Yeah,
it. It's a really good season from the three that I've
like
seen.
with he told I actually got into the first time I attempted to get into American Horror Story was through Freak Show, but I hated Freak Show. I just couldn't get through with it, and everybody was telling me you're starting it off wrong. You can basically start at any season because I mean they correlate to each other, but not really. It's a little bit of both. But everybody recommended me to start through Coven. So then from Coven, I went back to Murder House, then Asylum, then back to Freak Show, pushed through that, and then so on and so forth. But they have amazing storytelling, especially for Hotel and Asylum. I like those two the best. But Coven
Yeah.
was also very good.
Yeah, I'm about to start Asylum pretty soon. I'm just finishing up a series of movies that I've been watching, but I'm definitely going to be starting that one pretty soon. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more about American Horror Story in a little bit because there's some more news relating to that came out after the current posters. But the next piece of news that we have, if you are like me and you like Art the Clown, they opened up the Terrifier shop. So that is terrifiershop.com. They're not selling a whole ton of merch right now, but the big one is the Terrifier comic book. It is book 1 of 3. It's going to have 2 separate covers right now, and it also has those 2 separate covers. You can also get them signed by Damien Leone and David Howard Thornton, director and guy who plays art. They are starting at $30, but the signed copies are $85. So they're a little bit steep for the price. Granted, it is an indie company, like they don't, they have to make money somehow. So I understand where that's coming from. It's one of those things where it's like, it is kind of an investment. But
I agree. The fact that I feel like $85 is not too bad for a signed copy
no,
either.
especially if it's signed by
So,
both of them.
oh yeah. So, I think definitely as we're all waiting for Terrifier 2, we have something to look forward to and read, and maybe I might pick up a copy myself. Who knows?
So the next one is a pretty interesting one. I'm gonna let you take this one, Vanya, because it sounds pretty interesting.
For the next piece of news that we do have is Disappointment Boulevard cast for Ari Aster's new A24 movie, including Joaquin Phoenix, Patty LuPone, and more. So it's hard to tell if it's a genre of any sort of this time, but Ari Aster's from Hereditary and Midsummer set up his next project, which will reunite the filmmaker with A24. The film is titled Disappointment Boulevard, and Joaquin Phoenix was recently attached to star. Basically, in the deadline, it provides an update on the project, revealing more of the cast. And Nathan Lane, Patty
Yes.
Rapone, Amy Ryan, and Kylie Rogers will also star. The Deadline report notes that the film is being described as intimate, decade-spanning portrait of one of the most successful entrepreneurs of all time. This seems interesting. Of course, they haven't released a trailer for it, right?
No, literally, it's very, very under wraps right now. All we know is the casting right now. That's all we know. Like we don't even know what entrepreneur they're talking about.
Yeah.
But I'm very excited for this. For Joaquin Phoenix, also Nathan Lane, because I'm excited to like get because Nathan Lane doesn't do a lot of serious work, because he's Timon.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, what's he gonna do? Um, so yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm we like Ari Aster, we like Hereditary, we really like Midsummer. So I'm excited to
Yeah.
see what he's gonna do with this, because it doesn't look like a typical horror movie. It actually looks like a completely different type of movie.
Well, to be fair, Midsummer didn't look like a horror film either, but look where that ended up. So,
True, true. I mean, but like at least from the premise, they're like, oh, it's like a period film about an entrepreneur. I'm like, how do you get horror from that? But at the same time, who knows with Ari Aster? That man is insane. So,
yeah, is he known mostly for horror films
well, I mean,
other
the
than Midsummer and
I
Hereditary?
think those are the only two films that he's made.
Ah, okay. Then that
Yeah,
makes sense then.
yeah. That's why I'm like, and no, and not only that. Apparently, I didn't put that in our document, but they're looking to. It's looking like it might be like a 4 hour long movie.
Oh,
So
shit.
I'm honestly all down for 4 hours of Ari Aster, because why not? I could watch that.
Might as well.
If I could sit through 4 hours of Zack Snyder's Justice League, I can sit through 4 hours of Ari Aster.
And I still haven't sat through the 4 hours. Whoops.
Anyway, that's a whole different
I know.
topic.
He just looked at me like I was a heathen. I was
Oh
like,
no, it's not even. I couldn't care less if you've seen it or not. I didn't love it honestly, but I'm saying that's a whole different topic.
oh, interesting.
Yeah. This one is very cool, at least in my opinion. I do like to collect horror collectibles and action figures and such. Specifically the Nika like Ultimate like 7 inch tall figures, and they announced a Universal Monsters collection, and I'm very hyped up. Because they just put up pictures of the new Wolfman action figure, and it's based on the Lon Chaney film, like the original 1941 Universal film.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
yeah, it looks so cool. And actually, he's set to release in November. I think the pre-order starts July. But the first figure coming out is actually going to be Frankenstein's monster, which that one I'm buying day one, because if you know, you know that the monster is my favorite Universal monster, so I need him in on my mantelpiece or wherever I put them.
I would definitely. Do they have they even released a Bride of Frankenstein yet or no?
I am not sure yet, because the only ones that I've seen announced so far are just the monster and the Wolfman. I'm sure they're gonna announce the other ones, because they're doing a whole Universal Monsters lineup. I think they're
Oh,
like slowly
nice.
starting to unveil them. Yeah.
Please, please, I need Bride of Frankenstein, please. Anyway,
I mean, we can't have a Frankenstein's monster without the bride. Like, it just doesn't work. We need to have both.
there's some merchandise that they just come out with the original and they don't
That's because
bring out the women at all. Like
they're wrong.
Universal did it right by creating Bride of Frankenstein Lives, Fight Me.
Exactly.
So, for our next piece of news, if you guys have seen the movie Spiral, I know I sure as hell haven't, but I should because, I love all the Saw franchises. But the book, no, kidding. Anyway, why? Anyway. So, Spiral from the Book of Saw cuts into 4K in Blu-ray, DVD, and digital this July. So if you guys are Saw fans, I'm also a Saw fan, but I'm a heathen. I have not seen the movie. I'm gonna have to pick up a little copy of this because I need it and I need to watch it. So yeah, like I'm really excited about it. And we all love the gory details, if you know what I mean. So
That is right. I went to see this in the theater. I wasn't the biggest fan of this movie. It gets a lot of good reviews. Mine were like reviews. But because I already have all the other movies, I'm like, I need to get this one because I'm a crazy completionist. So I'm
oh
definitely gonna get
yeah.
it. But it does drop on Blu-ray, Ultra HD, 4K thingy, DVD and digital HD on the 13th of July, which is pretty soon. It's actually a lot sooner than I was expecting.
Yeah, and so we actually get to all expand our horror collections of DVDs. I still need to make more space, but it is what it is. But yeah, I'm super excited for it.
Yeah, me too. And our next big piece of news literally came out of nowhere.
On
And
something of a headline familiarity, please tell me
yes,
more.
so it is an announcement and a trailer for a Scooby Doo and a Courage the Cowardly Dog crossover movie.
Oh, that's awesome. This is the crossover we've all been waiting for since like we were kids in the mid 90s. So this is amazing. And we all know that like Courage the Cowardly Dog and well, Scooby Doo is not is not underrated, but Courage the Cowardly Dog is. But this is definitely something that I would love to see. But the fact that Sci-Fi had actually premiered this is actually very interesting as well.
Yeah, and that's set to release on September 14th on Sci-Fi. Strangely enough, it's also going to be on like digital and DVD, but not Blu-ray or anything like that, which is very surprising to me.
Well, I feel like now since the way that they're doing with animated films that's just the way that people want to collect them now. But
Yeah. Well, no, I just find it weird that like people are still being like buying DVDs.
wow,
I just find no.
wow.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm
I
just saying
still
that.
buy DVDs. I still buy DVDs. The fuck? I,
Well, listen. That's
when
good.
you
That's because
can't
I'm a
find the
snob.
Blu-ray, when you cannot find the Blu-ray, why the fuck you trying to pay overpriced shit unless it's a really nice collectible one? Why the fuck you trying to buy overpriced shit when you can get it like for the same amount, just lesser, better quality, but it's still good. It's as good as the original when it comes to collectibles.
Well, that's why.
So fight
That's
me.
it's because I'm a snob for visuals. That's why, and I want to see the movie as best as I can possibly see it. You are a literal child right now.
Because I stand. You guys know if you guys can't find it, the best way to do it is to get the DVD if it doesn't have it on Blu-ray for an affordable price. Yes.
Listen, you just have to know where to look. Most I've ever paid for a Blu-ray was like $150, and that's because it was like the Friday the 13th Shout Factory collection, which is literally like 12 movies, if not, I think it's 13 movies, so it evens out. But anyway, stop
Yeah.
judging. I can see your face. Stop judging me.
But yeah, it's still the crossover we were still waiting
Yeah.
for because I still want to see Scooby and the gang. I still want to see my two favorite dogs. And is Muriel even alive?
I don't
Eustace?
know. Oh God! Don't
That's
talk
hard.
about that. Let's not talk about that.
Cartoon Network, what are you doing?
Okay. So there are two things I'm curious about when it comes to this though. Number one is how the hell did this take so long? Like how did we get crossovers with Supernatural and John Cena before we got Courage the Cowardly Dog? And my other question is if we see Courage going to his computer, is it going to be like a super like hella nice setup now? With like multiple monitors and like a light up keyboard
I
instead of
feel
like
like
that little dumpy like 90s computer that he used to have, and now he's going to have like a
pretty sure
super
they're still
updated.
gonna pretty sure he's gonna still have the dumpy one because I feel like if you were to throw out that computer, like it's not gonna be. At that point, just ask Google. Like fuck.
You got a point. Yeah, you got a point. You got a
Yeah,
point. So at the same
yeah,
time,
it's
yeah,
not.
for nostalgia's sake, we'll keep your '90s computer courage.
Yeah, and with the awful graphics and all the writing and oh my god, but we love that.
Yeah,
So our next piece of news is Steven Spielberg is reportedly still determined to prevent a Jaws reboot from happening.
as it should be.
So we literally have seen Jaws growing up, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people who are just not educated in the film industry is like, why would you want to reboot? But he's trying to prevent that from happening because we always want to preserve what it was originally there. So, because Steven Spielberg is super protective of the original classics legacy, that at many points over the years promising to never digitally touch it up and to also never allow it to be remade. So he feels strongly about the decision, and I feel like he would feel just as strongly for E.T. Because if someone remakes E.T., I'm gonna riot. So
Yep.
yeah,
And it's one of those things where like those movies are already perfect. There's nothing that can be remade about them. Like, do not touch them. And like
yeah.
I literally love the fact. I think it's a reported fact that Robert Zemeckis, the guy who made Forrest Gump and Back to the Future, I think in his will he has it as a stipulation that they can never remake Back to the Future. So I'm like, any director, put that in your will. If you don't want a movie to be remade, just put it in your will because they can't, they can get sued if they try it. So don't just put it in your will.
Damn, nice. That's pretty nice.
Because there are things that you should not touch. There are things you should not remake, and Jaws is one of those things.
I feel like would it also count if okay, so the original Back to the Future they can't remake it, but can they add another piece to it as a part of the franchise, or would that still fall under the category of that?
That would be more of a reboot. I think that would be okay as long as they literally just don't wipe the slate clean and just be like, oh, hey, here's Marty again. And it's like a whole different actor and like all that kind of stuff. But if it was like,
Yeah.
if it was kind of like similar to Bill and Ted, where, Bill and Ted is still like a third film in the Bill and Ted franchise, that's different. Because it's still the same actors, it's still the same characters, it's still the same like universe. But, it's not like the Halloween remake with Rob Zombie that like they completely rewrote the entire story. Laurie and Michael were played by like different actors. Like it's not a sequel type thing.
Yeah.
So like that's different. And we
That
already know
makes
we already know what happened with the Jaws sequels anyway. We don't talk about Jaws 3, we don't talk about Jaws the Revenge. So
Yeah, but for sure, that definitely
yeah.
makes sense now. So, what is our next piece of news?
So the
Yusuf?
next one is a big one. This is one I'm very, very excited for. We got a new trailer for Candyman. And this is all it's funny enough, this is like one of those things that's like a reboot slash remake, like both at the same time. Because the way the trailer is set up, it gives you like a new origin for Candyman. Because in the original, Candyman was a slave who fell in love with a white woman. And when the slave owner found out, they had him lynched and hung from a tree. And he just became a ghost after that. Here, it's a little different. Here, they have him as an actual like person that would give children candy. That's just what he did. That was like his whole thing in his neighborhood. He was like the Candyman. And at one point, kids start finding razor blades in their candy, very, very trick or treat. And of course, the police are like, "Oh, it was him," and they kill him. But then, like sometime later, people are still finding razor blades in their candy, so they're like, "Oh shit, we killed an innocent man." So I like that. I like the new mythology. It's very current for like this political climate that we're in. And also, it looks super bloody. Like this movie looks so good, so violent, and I'm all for it.
I know I've seen the trailer a couple of times, so I'm really excited for it. But yeah, I still have not seen Candyman, the original, so I'm a heathen. So that's part of my homework for maybe next podcast and whatnot. But yeah, I'm super excited. Would you actually consider finding razor blades in your candy current? Because I feel like nobody does that anymore. but you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think because well, it's the whole mythology thing of it. Because
Yeah.
because Candyman, the original is like in the '90s, but they still talk about him being a slave like back in the 1800s. So who knows? Like this could have been back in like the '50s or '60s or something.
That's fair. Yeah.
Especially like during the height of the civil rights movement, where so that would be like a nice backdrop for it, I think.
Nerd. Yep.
Wow. Sorry that I know
The,
history. Jeez.
I never paid attention. Hi. If it's not gory, I don't want it. But anyways, but he seems very excited for it, so I need to catch up and watch the other movies so I can just be excited just as much for this one. Our next piece of news breaks my heart because it is a son that is near and dear to my heart. And by the way, Sailor K, I'm coming after you. Um, because she said that she much rather have Pumpkinhead than Chucky movies, and I'm like, you heathen.
Why not both?
Why? No, because it was a either or kind of tweet. Like you either can only pick one or the other. So she said, "Yeah, sorry guys. Like I prefer Pumpkinhead," and I'm like, all of us just came after her except Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice was actually like a good sport about it, but we all came after her. We're just like,
don't be bullying Sailor K now. She's adorable. I love her. I love her art.
yeah, I love her art, but she needs to be educated that a killer
No,
doll is superior.
stop it. We're
Anyway,
not gonna start beef with other people on Twitter.
no, I love her. She knows I love her. She's amazing, and I love Bass with the podcast. I love Aaron. I love Sailor K. So yeah, she's amazing. But other than that, breaks my heart because goodbye, good guy. The Child Play movies are leaving Netflix next year. Well, not next year, next July. My bad. But yeah, in July, and I'm super sad about it because I feel like I just got Bride of Chucky in my grasp without having to pay Amazon Prime, and now I feel like I have to buy the DVD because I won't have access to it, and I'm just crying. But either way, I feel like this was more of a because I know that they started a whole with the LGBTQ pride with the Seed of Chucky kind of thing, and I thought that was a super cute concept. But other than that, that's I'm sad. Child's Play 2, Child's Play 3, Bride of Chucky, and Seed of Chucky are all leaving on July 31st.
So if you haven't had a chance to watch them, watch them. You still got a little bit of time left. At
Yeah,
least get one good watch of each one on there before they leave.
definitely. After this podcast, I might watch Seed of Chucky. Cursed movie, but I love it. Cursed, but I love it. But our next piece of news is American Horror Story. First, it gives us a trailer of a 1 minute preview of the FX spin off series. FX is calling it the American Horror Summer, and today they shared a 1 minute sneak peek at the American Horror Story spin-off, and it's loaded with interesting teases. So
So I did see this little like 1 minute trailer thing. It seems to like it's a very quick thing. Like it just flashes through a bunch of different images. But from what I've seen, it flashes through like certain things that have to do with the other seasons. So like you see a little bit of the
yeah,
murder house, you see a little bit of the asylum, you see a little bit of Roanoke. So it's literally just like anything you can imagine.
yeah. The thing about Roanoke was a really interesting take on the series, which I wonder what they're gonna do now that this is a double feature. So that's gonna be really interesting how we're just gonna see all of these kind of intertwined in a sense, you know? Because I
Hmm.
heard that they were only supposed to go for 9 seasons.
They're going on to season
Uh,
10 now.
yeah. So they're keeping that series strong, and as long as that it's still there, I'm living for it. Just not Cult. Don't talk about Cult, but it's the only season I haven't watched, to be fair, because it was just god awful, and it triggered one of my old phobias, which is awful. But either way, um,
That's for later time.
yeah, we should talk about irrational fears on a podcast. Ooh,
We should. Well, we should do that for an episode. Yeah, irrational fears.
yeah,
We have plenty of those. So,
yeah. Oh,
But the
what's the next piece of?
next piece that we have here is I saw the headline for this. I was pretty interested. So apparently they're gonna be making Pet Cemetery, like they're gonna be making a Pet Cemetery prequel,
Ooh.
following a young Judd Crandall, which was like the older man that like brings the cat over to the pet cemetery and then brings the dad over, so he can like learn about the pet cemetery and stuff. And it looks like it's actually going to be coming to Paramount Plus, which is like the
Oh,
unfortunate thing.
nice.
So,
I
but it
still need to get that.
yeah, same. Literally the only reason I want it for is to watch the Nickelodeon shows. That's the only reason I want it. Um, but it looks like Jackson White is currently in final negotiations to join the cast as a young Judd Crandall. So it could be
Oh,
interesting. I'm not super familiar with the whole Pet Cemetery thing. I've seen the original and I saw the last one that came out, the remake, which I hated. I
remake.
hated that remake. It was awful. I hated that movie.
I had mixed feelings about it.
I
I don't hate it, but I don't love it either.
I didn't like it. It was boring, and especially like when I was watching the original, I was like, the original is so much better. Like
Yeah,
it feels
I
I feel
agree.
like it's written so much better.
I think so too.
But the next one we have is really cool too. If you like Italian horror like me, the director of the Suspiria remake, I'm gonna butcher this, Guadagnino.
Hmm?
He shared a first look at Timothée Chalamet in his new movie. It's called Bones and All, and it looks to be a cannibal love story.
Well, I mean, we kind of got something similar to oh my God, what's the one that has the is the Romeo and Juliet zombie one?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
It reminds me a little bit of that, but we love that. We
Mm.
love a cannibal love story though.
And you know what's even cooler?
Mm.
It's set in the 80s.
Yes, fuck me
Yep.
up. I love it.
Because yeah, it says on the current like little synopsis, it says star-crossed young lovers surviving on the margins of society who meet and join together for a 1,000-mile odyssey which takes them through the back roads, hidden passages, and trapdoors of Ronald Reagan's America.
Oh
So
wow, that's
I
gonna be
am
really cool.
down for an 80s cannibal love story. Like, please.
I would like that. I just I mean, like I said, I just feel like with other kinds of concepts of the way that people kill other people. Like I'm fascinated by those. Ooh, which I'm get to talk about some of those later. But other than that, like yeah, I think that's gonna be a really cool concept, and I cannot wait for that one to come out.
Yeah, but what else are we getting news on, Vanya?
So we are going to get Tremors 2, Aftershocks, Tremors 3, Tremors 4 is getting a new solo Blu-ray release this summer. So if you haven't been able to track down one of the complete sets, you'll be happy to hear that some of the best Tremors sequels are getting the Blu-rays this summer because apparently, he's very excited for it because he wrote this and, he's just a slut for Blu-rays in general. We should call it like Blu-ray Yussef or whatever. But other than that, Universal will be releasing those in Blu-ray individually on July 13th.
Yep. Because I actually have never seen any of the Tremors movies, except for the first
Mm,
one with Kevin Bacon. So I'm like,
yeah.
oh, now's my chance to get the rest of them and watch them in the right quality.
Oh, nice. My God. Yeah, so that's gonna be awesome in the right quality. Tell me. So the next one, it is The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs will return for Shudder for a fourth season. So we get the tweet from season 4 in The Last Drive-In was announced on Monday. Shudder, they're gonna set us loose with some more holidays and weekends, but there's no set release date. So stay tuned. I know for me, I haven't seen The Last Drive-In, but a lot of people do talk a lot
Yeah, I know.
about it.
I
It's like,
know. Cece from the Scream Queens is probably screaming at this because
yeah,
she
and
she
Kyle, and
loves Last
apparently,
Drive-In. Yeah.
And so I need to start watching. I just renewed my thing with Shutter, so I need to start getting on that. Getting on the, but yes,
Yep. So,
I know that that's new.
yeah. Now, the next thing to... apparently, FX and Ryan Murphy were like, hey, you like this week? Because we're going to keep feeding you American Horror Story stuff. Because we have another thing to do with American Horror Story now. We got a new poster for the actual like mainstream series, American Horror Story Double Feature. And it looks like it's going to be teasing like alien invasion type stuff. The poster is ridiculous. It is literally like your typical like green, big head, giant black eyes alien kissing a vampire looking monster while the vampire monster has like a black pill in its tongue.
Oh,
And I'm like, you know what? I'm in.
yeah, love that.
That's
This is
so it's so weird, and I'm like, I haven't seen. No, I'm thinking because I remember American Horror Story Asylum has something to do with aliens. I wonder if this is gonna tie back to Asylum now.
yeah. I think it
Oh,
should be.
oh, now that gets me even more excited.
Yeah,
That's it. I just realized that I was like, wow, that's gonna be cool.
yeah. I cannot wait because they do have different concepts. I know that there was something mentioned about like sirens and all this other stuff in this other one as well. But I don't know. Let's see if American Horror Story will actually make sirens scary, if you know what I mean.
We'll see.
Not just some Little Mermaid tale. But you know, it seems like we are going to be visiting a lot of our old favorite stories before we start getting into a lot of double features, if you know what I mean. So
And then the next one that we have here, so they're actually going to be doing a interview with a vampire series for AMC. Now, it's not going to be based on the movie. It's going to be based more on the book by Anne Rice. That's actually set to come in on AMC on next year in 2022. Really, there's not a lot of information. All we know so far is that it's going to be an 8-part series. And Roland Jones, who was the showrunner for Friday Night Lights, is going to be the showrunner for this as well. And it's set
that's
to
gonna be
launch on
cool.
AMC and AMC Plus in 2022.
MC Plus. Oh,
Everybody has a plus now.
oh,
Everybody has a plus. You got Disney Plus, AMC Plus, Paramount Plus, Discovery Plus. Everybody just has plus.
I'm just like, when did I think of damn like AMC really do be feeling threatened up in this bitch though? Like they were like, let's save our industry somehow. Let's make a streaming service. It's like, so I wonder what that will include because now everybody's taking their kind of like their rights
Mm-hmm.
and they're just hogging it kind of thing. So the
Yeah.
AMC is like, what are you gonna show?
I mean,
What
they
are
have
you
a
gonna
lot of
show?
they have a lot of like the AMC originals. You know, they have like Walking Dead as an AMC show, Breaking
Yeah,
Bad, Mad Men, Hell on Wheel. Like they have a
yeah,
good amount of shows that they can do.
yeah.
So
So
I'm not too
they need
worried
to
about
start
that.
coming up with a Walking Dead movie or something because
Oh, they are doing
they
it. They
need
are
to
doing
get
a Walking Dead movie.
used to me. What?
Yeah, but yeah, we'll talk about that at some other point because there's only like very little details on that. But we'll talk about that some other time.
Yes.
Now we do have to talk about this. This is the biggest news so far, I think, and I'm gonna let you take this one.
So I was a heathen, and I didn't watch the trailer until before this podcast, and yeah, it's amazing. So Halloween Kills, they dropped their first trailer, and it's super ultra violent, and we love it, and I was super excited, especially since I watched it before this podcast, but that's besides the point. But we get to see all of our beloved characters back. And you know that now the city is very in danger and angry, and this is like Yusuf described it to me. It's a one just big ass Avengers movie, but for horror.
That's what
Yes.
it feels like. It's like Jamie Lee Curtis is like, hey, I'm gonna make the horror version of the Avengers. Everybody in the town of Haddonfield, we're gonna go after this motherfucker.
Yeah.
And not only
So
that, we
like
got so much like information on this trailer, all this little teases. biggest one that everybody's been freaking out about is the 3 bodies that are found by the cops in this playground, and they're all wearing the Shamrock mask from Halloween 3. And
Yeah,
I
that's
absolutely love it
awesome.
so much so that I was talking to Bonnie after this, and I'm like, or before this, and I'm like, I really want to get the Shamrock masks as a tattoo now.
You might as well. Like,
Yeah,
it seems like it's just amazing. Like, I'm
yeah,
really excited for it, and it was just a lot to take in, especially since Jamie Lee Curtis always says something that we always have to evil ends tonight, or something that we have to kill this guy tonight. Like everything ends tonight. I'm like,
yeah.
does it though? Like, are we?
It's
Is this
not though.
really?
It's not because they
But
already told us that the next one is going to be called Halloween Ends. So we know there's going to be another movie after this.
yeah.
But
So
yeah,
you know.
funny enough, the other thing that really got me excited is in the original Halloween, Jamie Lee Curtis's character is babysitting these 2 kids. Those 2 kids are like the characters are coming back, and the boy, obviously now he's an adult. He's played by Anthony Michael Hall from Weird Science, Breakfast Club. Like
Oh,
it's him. I'm like, oh, it's like my '80s dream come true. I'm so excited for that.
yeah, so yeah, that's probably the biggest news that we have, and it was amazing. I mean, the last movie was amazing, so it definitely left us on a cliffhanger to say we actually killed Michael, but of course we didn't.
No.
Um,
You know what they say?
but
True
other,
evil never dies.
exactly. But yeah, that was a lot of news to cover,
Yeah.
so it was just a lot. And I'm sorry if the segment is very long
Listen,
because
there was a lot of stuff going on. And honestly, this is one of those things I we weren't originally planning on doing the horror headlines because I was planning on doing like a whole video and then just releasing that. But I was
yeah,
just having some issues and like I don't know why I just wasn't feeling the video. So hopefully by next week I'll have that as like have the horror headlines of the week as a video instead of taking up literally like a quarter or a third of this podcast episode.
yeah. So
It's a lot.
hopefully. He finds a solution, or we can find a solution to be able
Yeah,
to get those little tiny segments and out as efficiently and as the way that we want it to portray. So
exactly.
yes.
But now let's get into the real meat and potatoes of this episode, and that is our favorite horror music artists or bands.
Yeah, so shit's gonna get weird, guys. So just saying.
So we're going to be talking about some of our favorite horror-inspired musicians or bands. We don't really have any specific type of genre that we're going to have in mind. It's literally just artists that are either inspired by horror or have a lot of horror imagery in their music and their videos and their lyrics, however they do that. But the first one that I'm going to talk about is one of my recent discoveries. That is Twin Temple. Twin Temple is so fucking awesome.
Please tell me more because I've never heard of them.
So Twin Temple is funny enough. I tweeted about them last week, and their style of music is 50s, 60s like doo wop, like diner music, but it is
Huh?
all with a satanic twist.
Culty.
Reason
Yay.
reason for that being the band members, their actual practice, like they practice Satanism, like they're actual Satanists. And they're like they their whole thing is, hey, we're gonna break down like the stigma around it. We're gonna show you that like we don't sacrifice babies, we don't chant in the woods at midnight or something like that. Like it's a whole different way of thinking, and it's really cool. I really like their music. It's definitely like transports you back to that era of like the greasers and like the 50s 60s type stuff. I think Bam 55, honestly. It is
That
like
would be
it.
awesome.
If Van 55 was music, it would be Twin Temple.
I can see that.
Yeah,
I need to actually check them out, but you guys will actually get to check all those out
yeah,
when we drop the playlist. So I can listen to it, he can listen to mine, and we
yep,
all just get educated.
yeah.
But that's
Because
awesome. I love
yeah,
Band 55.
the songs that I would recommend to like start off are, "Satan's a Woman," which is just a beautiful song, and "Lucifer, I Love You." Like, like they're just so good.
We love the titles. We
They're
love
just
it.
amazing. They're amazing. But yeah, that's all I really have to say about that. So now it's your turn, Vanya.
Ooh, which one do I want to start with first? Anyway, so I think I'm gonna go with something you guys already saw a video about, and it is Ghost. You guys, if you guys don't know that, Ghost is considered a metal band, and if you know Ghost, it is a band formed in Sweden, started by Tobias Forge. It is actually used as a project. It's not more of a band; it's more of a project because he just wanted it to be. Originally, Tobias Forge didn't want to be the main singer of Ghost. He wanted to just be in charge of the production and the sound, and then cast somebody else as the main hope, or the basically the person that is in charge of the entire band. As you guys already know, Satan. Wow, seven. Seven is a very sacred number in a lot of religious uh religious
Yeah, just religion. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that's the word.
religion in general. So for them in Ghost, they have either like seven instrumentalists. They all represent the elements of air, water, earth, and either. Yeah. So two of the band members will always have like an element added to basically take up the seven. I wish I could tell you, well, of course, with the basics of basically flute sounds, musical instruments, guitar, that kind of thing. So the way that Ghost works is that they have the satanic imagery, that they work for the satanic church, and they're trying to bring more of their followers closer to their Lord and Savior Satan, that kind of thing. So a lot of it is just, they go through the decades. They're very inspired by 60s through 80s music. They're very heavily inspired by the Beatles. At least that's what Tobias Forge originally said. So there is a lot of stuff going on in the Ghost universe. We have the concept that each pope that they introduce, they have a storyline where they kill off each pope, and the other one has to be younger, and then the last one more charming, more attractive, more intriguing for the audience to feel more attached to them, especially since we have the storyline of Papa Nil being literally like the first pope, but he never was in the band of Ghosts, but he had Papa Emeritus 1 and 2 as his sons, which he both killed. And then eventually we do see him have an affair with a sister, and Sister Imperator, that's her name. And we find out that she's pregnant later on in the early 70s to 60s, because we are all assuming that it is Cardinal Copia, and which is now Papa Emeritus 4. But yeah, so there's just a lot, and a lot of their music is very satanic. The original seven members, they used to be plague doctors, but then they got a new look that is more of a metal piece on their face, and they are called nameless ghouls. They look more like a demony kind of thing, and it is awesome. And the fact that Tobias Forge has actually had famous instrumentalists or artists on his band, like basically be covered in concerts such as Slash, someone from the Foo Fighters. And so,
Wow.
yeah, they have actually all been a nameless ghoul in the band of Ghost. So there is a lot of lore to get into. I do have a video of it on our Sounds from the Grave.
Yes,
If you guys
please
want to
check that
get
out.
more
Yes,
into,
check it out. It's
yeah,
really cool.
literally, there's so much, and I'm not trying to take up the entire podcast because basically this is what it would be. But yeah, I love Ghost, and it's definitely something I've been obsessed with, especially songs such as Dance Macabre. There is Witch Image. There is, of course, Year Zero, which is how they started. Basically, it's like a really satanic chant. If you want to scare your neighbors, please put that song. But yeah, because it's like Beelzebub, Osmodius, Satanas, Lucifer, that kind of thing. You're just chanting at the top of their lungs, and it's anyway. But yeah, that's
Mm.
all I gotta say about Ghost. I know I kind of just threw a very slammed version of my video, just more condensed.
They are
Kind of thing.
literally like a telenovela satanic band.
Yeah, basically.
Because they're
And they're
like,
from Sweden.
oh,
Yeah, and yeah, so they have won at least one Grammy for their song Cerise, which is part of the Papa Emeritus 3 cycle. I think the album was Meliora, so it was definitely one of the better songs. And I genuinely enjoy that song because it's just basically like a talent show at a high school. And you see like tiny versions of the Ghost Band as children performing in the talent show, but they perform Cerise. And like he's kind of singing to like a girl that kind of has supernatural powers, like basically trying to awaken her true potential kind of thing, like trying to draw her like, oh, like you have potential, like be drawn closer to Satan, like unleash your potential and that kind of thing. And it's amazing.
that
So
sounds really cool. Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
lots
I don't
of.
know that many songs by them. I think the only one that I've heard like multiple times is Monstrance Clock.
Oh, I love Monsters Club.
It's a really good song. Like I actually like I want to take the time to like sit down and like actually like listen to their music and really get into the lyrics and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, what's crazy about Monsters Clock is that I went to see them in 2018, and that's the song that they closed out with because you know how at the end they have come together, together as one,
Mm.
and it will just repeat, and everybody will leave the stadium as if they were exiting like a church
Oh wow.
thing. Like the audience did that. Like I was like, "Yo, is this tradition? Are we supposed to be doing something?" Okay, like it's just it was amazing because at the end when it has that whole chant, everybody was just slowly leaving the theater because I watched it at the Dr. Phillips Performing Arts Center, and their
Nice.
concert was 2 hours long, so, and they had an intermission and everything, and I'm like, holy
Well, how
shit, it
many
was amazing.
is it? Don't they have like what 5 or 6 albums?
Oh
That's
yeah,
probably why
and they
too.
go
Yeah.
through a lot of them. They go through more of the popular songs for sure,
Mm. Yeah, that's
but
one of the good things about artists having like more than like 3 or 4 albums because they can get really long concerts and you're like I got my money's worth for this. Because
yeah,
I remember going to see Green Day, you know, like at the time they had released what, like 12 or 13 albums? And it was like a 2.5, almost 3 hour concert. And I'm like, I'm living for this.
yeah. The thing is that with Ghost on well, not with Ghost, but with a lot of artists. Once a new album drops, they just kind of forget about the other one, and they don't bother to
Which
bring back
I kind
any
of hate when that
like
happens.
favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they want you to really concentrate on the new shit. But I'm like, okay, your new shit's great, but you know, we also want to hear like old bangers, that kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But yeah, that's the next one that I have. It's one of my favorites. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'm sure you've seen my shirt, and that is the incredible Rob Zombie.
yeah,
I
I love that zombie.
there's there's nothing about Rob Zombie that I don't like because I like his movies, I like his music, I just like him in general. I've always liked the how he incorporates like sound bites from classic horror movies into
Hmm?
each of his songs, and I like his lyrics. They're all very like 50s and 60s horror and sci-fi inspired, which is like really cool to me because not a lot of people like tend to focus on that type of genre or that type of era in horror. So I think that's
Yeah,
pretty cool of him. Um, and I kind of like the he has like this weird like distinct visual style where it's just like the whole thing of like muscle cars and demons and beautiful women. Like that's just like his whole aesthetic, I think.
yeah, and a
It's
lot
like
of bright colors depending on what
yeah,
music
depending on what he's
video that
doing,
you're
yeah.
watching.
Like Dracula. Like Dracula
Yeah,
is a kaleidoscope of psychedelic nightmare, and I love it.
Yeah, if you go to YouTube, you guys will literally see Dracula, but you know that that music video is also not in the great. It didn't age well, as in like the quality is awful on YouTube. The quality
Yeah,
for
and I mean that
Dracula is
considering
god awful.
it's a song from like 1997 or 1998. It's up there. So
Yeah,
that
so
song is no spring chicken.
like we need a remastered version. Thank
Oh
you,
yeah. I'm
Zombie,
I'm
please.
I'm really hoping that at some point they do like an anniversary remaster for it because I would love to hear like in a remastered sense. But
Yeah.
even like some of his later work, like his last three or four albums are really really good. Hellbilly Deluxe 2 is really good. Like Sig Bubblegum is a good song. Jesus Frankenstein is a really good song. I think one of my favorite one is Mars Needs Women because
Oh,
it's like a whole
interesting.
joke on like the whole thing of like women are from Venus, men are from Mars type thing. And it's like, well,
Yeah.
there's all men here. Can we get a woman, please?
Oh,
This is really
that's
funny.
awesome. I
And
think the first time I heard of Rob Zombie, oh, the first song I actually ever heard of Rob Zombie was Scum of the Earth. But after
oh, some
that,
Scum of the Earth is so good.
I didn't know anything about Rob Zombie until I was much, much older. Like I didn't appreciate much more of his music
Hmm.
until way older.
Funny enough, my first ever exposure to Rob Zombie was in middle school. It was this friend of mine. We were talking about music of all things. This is middle school Yusef. We were talking about Slipknot.
Ah,
That's like
gross.
that's just like as early as like as mid 2000s metal as it gets. We're talking about Slipknot.
Yeah.
But then out of nowhere, he just starts singing like the chant from the first, like the Call of the Zombie, like
Oh,
from the first
interesting.
Hellbilly Deluxe. And I'm like, what was that, dude? You gotta tell me what that was. Like, I gotta know about this. So he let me borrow his copy of Hellbilly Deluxe. And I was like, this is the best thing I've ever heard.
Oh, that's cool.
So like, it was such a cool like friend experience to have. But yeah, I'm actually really excited because he's coming to Daytona in November for a music festival, and me and my brother are like already making plans to try and go and stay a night over there and then go see him.
Oh, that's gonna be so cool. You
Yeah,
guys should. The pandemic is somewhat older over,
so
so
close. We're so
we
close.
are, you know, into the thick of it with all
Ugh,
of the ugh.
ugh.
With we're almost out of this craziness. We all get to enjoy our favorite artists and whatnot.
Hmm.
So
Now I definitely want to know about your next artist because you told me that it's like it's really dark, and I'm like, all right, tell me. I gotta know.
okay, so this year, the thing is like I've known about this band for the past year, but I was only like into one song, and that was the only song I actually gave it a chance. And this year, Curiosity definitely killed the cat for me. And so before I go, because I feel like it would make sense the more I talk about it. So basically, the new artist that I kind of found, they actually recently dropped a new song called Michelle Carter. If you guys do not know who Michelle Carter is, she is a 17-year-old piece of shit that literally had tempted her boyfriend to basically get in the back of it, like in his truck, with carbon dioxide and die. This was an actual case in 2014. So the band is called Skinned. They basically make music about true crime cases, real cases that have happened in the United States, mostly. So my first exposure to them was the song Jim Jones. I had no idea who Jim Jones was. I know that everybody kind of knows about him. Um, Basically, the guy who basically killed his entire church organization, like basically tried to do it in hindrance, giving them some type of, I think it was a poison kind of thing.
Yeah, that was the whole drink the Kool Aid thing, right?
The Kool-Aid, yeah. So they basically did that. He basically did that. So with that band, they do a lot of true crime music. Their music, I cannot tell you it's rock. It
Okay.
is a very agro tech industrial. It's a bit, it sounds like a mess in your headphones, but the more you listen to the lyrics, the more it makes sense. Because the thing about Skinned, when I was looking through their interviews and whatnot, is that they try to get in. She said that when she was younger, she used to have an imaginary friend named Skinned, and that Skinned has showed her all the horrors of the world. Basically, like the real monsters in the world are humans. Basically, she got into the first thing that made her get into that the type of crime is that her grandfather was killed, that kind of thing, and then she kind of got started to get into true crime there, and she kind of had like this relationship with Skinned, and then eventually she formed the band Skinned. The Skin is made up of three members. There is the main singer, which we don't know exactly who she is, because she wants to keep it a mystery, because she wants her music to be concentrated more on the cases and giving justice to those who have suffered under the crimes of serial killers and or anything that has become unjust. But then she actually met Father Skinned in Australia, and they both made music. They're like, hey, we should make music together, and they both shared a passion for true crime. They're not dating or anything, but they just kind of had like the twin flame of making music. So they eventually formed Skin. They sing about, like I said, different cases, such as they sang about what I didn't know about. I actually watched an entire documentary. Well, it's on Netflix. I feel like everybody has seen this documentary. Is The Night Stalker?
Oh yes,
The case
yes.
of Richard Ramirez. So they have a song called Richard Ramirez, and they do mention "I'll See You" in Disneyland. And in the music video, we do see her singing, and we see a version of Richard Ramirez and a girl wearing a Mickey Mouse mask that is all messed up and
Ooh, I
shit.
like that.
So she has a lot of dark imagery, and then she said in the music of Richard Ramirez, she says that basically is killing is sex, because Richard Ramirez, after killing them, raping them, murdering tons of women, not just women, in general, raping children, even murdering husbands. So there was no type of person he went after. Everybody was sustained to get under his grip. So they sing about Richard Ramirez. They sing about Michelle Carter, which is the newer song that they released about basically the girl tempting her boyfriend to kill himself through text. They both had basically depression, and they were on medication. But I think Michelle Carter has stopped taking it, and the reason why she killed her boyfriend is because she wanted to be more popular with her friends, and then she basically used his death as a type to use clout. Because she's like, oh, like I'm a widowed girlfriend, oh me, oh my, kind of thing.
Jesus.
And what's crazy is that they released this song basically the month that she gets released out of prison. So Michelle Carter is now 25. She committed that crime as a 17-year-old, but she was charged as a teen, not as an adult. So they have a song about Michelle Carter. Gary Hednick is also another one that they had done a song about. I don't remember too much about that one. But yeah, so they have one about Jim Jones. They have one about Tyler Hadley, the son that took ecstasy and killed his parents with a hammer, and
Jesus.
then basically had a party after, and then showed his best friend, "Hey, look what I did! Like, they're my parents." And then his friends like, "What the fuck?" So we do see a lot of that in the music videos. They never release a solo song without any imagery to explain, and the reason that Skin does the way they do things is that they want to get into the serial killer's head. They said, we want to make people feel uncomfortable because these are real people that fucking exist. And they also have the Columbine killings, the Columbine High School killings, are basically the school shooters. So we do see a little girl going through high school, and then we do see the transition. And the what's cool about the music video is that it's done in two shots. So it was incredible, the transition between like the singer and the actual girl. And then we do see in black and white the girl going through this crisis of there being a shooting, and she's trying to get away from all that. And
Wow.
if you really listen to the music, it is disturbing. Like the when you listen to it, it's like it feels like they're glorifying the killings, but they're not. They're like, we really want to like raise awareness that these people actually freaking exist, and these are cases that people need to know about to educate themselves more. They also did the Elisa Lam case. We all know that documentary came out. So it's a lot. So they do a lot of they call themselves true crime music, because they don't do anything about themselves. They don't want to make it about themselves. They want to make it about the true crime and serial killers and basically victims that have suffered under their grasp. So if you guys are ready to listen to some weird music, I'm sorry, but that's what you're going to be exposed to in the Spotify. But if you see music videos, they're just graphic, and they're just a lot of captures a lot of what these serial killers might have been thinking, or the way that these victims have suffered. So
That's pretty interesting. That's very unique too. I hadn't really heard of anybody doing music like that at all. Um, yeah, I'm gonna definitely have to give that a listen. Don't know
yeah,
how much I would like it, but I'm gonna try and give it a listen. Say I'm
yeah,
not gonna knock something if I don't try it, you know.
yeah.
So
It's just very interesting, because it's because I've been a fan of the song Jim Jones for a while, because it's very weird.
hmm
They because in Jim Jones we see basically her in like red, and she has like a white cloth, and then there's like candles representing like the church, and then
hmm
you do see silhouettes of members of the church taking the cyanide kind of thing,
Oh wow, yeah, yeah.
and so that you and then you see like Jim Jones, you see it, and the way that she does her makeup will always represent something about the case. So for Michelle Carter, she turned her entire face white because basically white privilege get away with murder kind of
hmm
thing. With Tyler Hadley, his mom said no, basically because like, no, what are you doing? Before he basically killed his mother, and she has on her face the letter no on her makeup. For Columbine, she has a blacked out circle around her face representing the shooting, as if it was holes in somebody's heads, for those who have died.
Jeez,
So yeah,
wow,
it is
that's dark.
super. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then for Elisa Lam, I don't remember so much about her makeup there, but the way that she represented is that she was the demon, like the singer was the demon that Elisa Lam was seeing, because we
Mm.
do see in the videos that she was kind of talking or doing movements to like another person or another entity so in the video you see them switching off and on, that they were like, just it's really weird. Like,
Gotcha.
I really
Okay.
love that band. It's
Hmm.
fucking
Yeah,
awesome.
I'll definitely give it a try. Like I said,
It's
it
definitely,
might be too
definitely,
much for me to handle, just because
yeah,
I know there are some points where I draw the line that might be where it is, but I'll have to see.
yeah. I mean, it's super. They don't have a lot of songs. That's the
hmm
thing, but they have anything close to 8 to 12, so it's not a
Oh, okay,
lot, and
gotcha.
they're all based around cases, because the way that they separate their songs, they drop it in groups of 3 or 4. They don't have albums. They just drop
They
it
just drop
into,
EPs.
case files 1, case files 2, case files 3,
Okay,
instead of just albums. Like
cool,
they
cool.
just drop it in middle thing. So yeah. So I
So
feel like I'm just disturbed some people.
so
But
that's yeah. We had a good amount of information on there from both of us. Um,
yeah,
so yeah, we're gonna make a Spotify playlist on this. There's gonna be a lot more music on there of like the stuff that we didn't really get a chance to broach. There's a lot of other artists on there that I'm a fan of, that I like, that I just never got a chance to put in there. And I'm sure you have another bunch of artists that you want to talk about, or want people to know about. So we'll put all of those into a Spotify playlist. So it's not
yeah,
just Rob Zombie and Twin Temple and Ghost and Skin. It's a heck of a lot more stuff that we also
Um,
like that are horror influenced artists.
well, we know that Billie Eilish is definitely one of them. In
Hmm.
This Moment is another one. There's just a lot of artists that are heavily inspired by horror,
Oh yeah.
and so
Like Alice,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, you got Alice Cooper. Another one of my recent ones, I actually got to thank Jonathan and Chrissy from Hung Up on Horror for this one, because they did a really cool interview with Poltergeist OD. He is a horror rapper, and it is really good music. Like, really
if
good
you
music.
thought it was weird, then I don't think Skinned will be a problem for you. If you thought it was like interesting and you liked that, I'm like, I don't think
I
Skinned will
mean,
be a
okay,
problem for you.
I remember, funny enough, there was one song of his that I heard while I was at work. I'm like, good thing I have headphones on, because I would get the most judgmental looks for this, and that is 8 Bars to Die For Volume 3, because that
Yeah,
shit is dark.
nice.
But like I said, once the episode drops, I'll also put a link to the Spotify playlist so you guys can take a listen to that. And you know what? If you also like other horror artists or would like us to listen to some, reach out to us. I'm always willing to listen to some new music or revisit other artists that I haven't heard in a while. So if there are some
Yeah,
that you like, some that you would want us to know about, definitely reach out to us, whether it's on Twitter, Instagram, or through our email, however you want to do that.
yeah,
But I think we have reached the end of this musical journey for today.
yeah. It was a lot to take in, guys.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, where can we find you? And then we'll do probably the podcast one together.
Yeah. So for me, my personal stuff, you can find me on Twitter at itbeyusef. For my Instagram, it's Yusef1220. And that's pretty much it. I still have a YouTube channel. I don't have time to update it anymore. I haven't updated it in like 6 months now.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we'll get back into
At
the
some
swing
point,
of
I'll get
things
into
for
it.
sure.
Yeah.
For me, I'm like on and off with my HHN Cultist, which is what my handles are. HHN Cultist on both Twitter and YouTube, and I post makeup vlogs and Howling Hornets information, horror, whatever, what have you. I'm trying to be a little bit more active on YouTube, especially. So, but I am very active on Twitter. So if you guys don't mind giving me a subscribe and follow, that would be amazing. But we also have a podcast. We are Sounds from the Grave, and we have Apple, Spotify, Anchor, and all the lovely platforms. But we also have social media. Like what,
Yes.
Yusuf?
So we also have our Instagram, our Twitter, our Facebook. We also have our email, which is soundsfromthegravepodcast@gmail.com. And we also have this YouTube channel. The YouTube channel has a little bit more like random stuff on there, like if you want to get some more info on Ghost, Vanya here did a really really cool video on the lore of Ghost, which I saw and I'm like, okay, I get it now, because I so confused by I'm like, why are there like 4 different popes to this? I'm like, now I get it. So
Yeah.
if you wanna get a really good understanding of that, definitely check that video out. Um,
Good one
and
of the tragic life of
Bella
Bela
Lugosi. It was
Lugosi, and
such
it was a
really
really cool
cool.
video too.
I
So you
like
guys
that
need
one.
to check that one out. And he also does streams on our YouTube channel of
Yep.
Resident Evil and all that other stuff, and lots of Bioshock. He is a Bioshock whore, so like
Thanks for that. I
it's a
appreciate
fun
it.
time. We try to be as active as possible on
Yeah.
YouTube for sure.
But yeah, that's really all we have. Oh, actually, before I forget, if you want to be on the podcast, if you want to be on the show, if you want to be a guest, do not hesitate. We would love to have anybody on the show. We are a safe space, so it doesn't matter what you are, who you are. We want you on the show. We want to talk to you.
Yes, we want to talk to other people and get other people's opinions on
Yes.
horror or what have you, or whatever you set your mind on. So we love that. Try to make
Yes.
it horror related, but it's great.
But yeah, that's all we really have for this episode. So we will see you all very, very soon. Stay spooky.
And stay spooky and have a wonderful night, morning, anything. So yeah, guys, see ya.
Bye.